Philip Rivers said it. The Steelers were 174-0-1 with a 16-point lead, and that is now out the window. All right, CC, let's start with you. What did the Chargers prove in this comeback win last night over the Steelers?
Well, a lot of the people in the country have not watched the Chargers. They don't understand what quality of team they've had, even with the significant injuries that they've had. Up and down their roster. Lost their tight end, lost some linebackers, lost some other quality players, lost Joey Bosa for a great period of time. He's back to full strength now, manning that left defensive end. But this is a really, really talented football team. And I think from a coaching standpoint, we don't know a lot about the coach, but you can see through watching tape of them that he operates, that they're well prepared. And they have one of the best quarterbacks in the league. We don't talk about. We probably, of all the elite quarterbacks, we talk about him the least. So to be able to take this young team and to be able to get a win like this in Pittsburgh, do you know what that means as far as the confidence they'll have? Because they've already faced the best of the best. Kansas City, L.A. Rams, they faced these teams and lost very, very close games. So I think that when you get late in the season and you stop losing those games and you start winning them for a young team, especially without their second-best offensive player, Melvin Gordon, who had a tremendous season. Yes, tremendous confidence for that coaching staff and for this team as they travel back. And now, man, they're playing for keeps. Potentially, it's in line for them to potentially get a bye. So a lot of teams stumbling towards the end. There's going to be teams like the Chargers who they're going to catch fire, and we're going to start to have to give them notice. The Chargers, the Texans, teams like that we didn't have in the discussion. We're going to have to put them in the discussion of, are they Super Bowl contenders?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right that early in the year the Chargers played two teams in the Chiefs and the Rams. We didn't know how good those teams were going to be. The Chargers lose those games.
Good games.
Good games. They lose closely, tightly contested games. We think, okay, another similar, same old Chargers year. Joey Bosa has some mysterious injury. It's a bone bruise. He's out indefinitely. They lose a couple games early. Looks like they're going to do what they've done the better part of the last decade, somewhere between 7-9, 9-7, to where they just miss out on the playoffs. And since those two losses in the first few weeks, they've lost one game all year. They are in position where 10 days from now on Thursday Night Football, they could be playing the Chiefs for a chance to become the 1 seed in the AFC. Like, one of these teams, the Chiefs and Chargers, are going to end up 12-4, 13-3, and as the 5 seed. Yep. Like, that's the NFL playoff format, and Philip Rivers is the biggest reason they've been able to do this. He's the only player in the league that's had multiple touchdown passes in every game. Mahomes hadn't done that. Breeze hasn't done that. The last guy to do that through the first 12 games of a season was Aaron Rodgers all the way back in 2011. And this is one thing we've talked about on this show. At the trade deadline, all these teams making moves. We said no team is going to get a bigger addition than the one the Los Angeles Chargers are going to get when Joey Bosa comes back. And you saw his impact yesterday. You saw a guy who was in the running, or at least preseason contention for Defensive Player of the Year, a guy who last year, in year two, his first full year of football, or last year, his first full year of football in the NFL, was a dominant player. And so this is a really good team that I'm glad you brought up the coach, because Anthony Lynn's one of the more anonymous coaches in football. And you see how prepared he has his team down 23-7 to Pittsburgh. And you don't lose hope. You
didn't flinch.
Didn't flinch at all. You force in the second half.
Your game plan, all of it.
And in the second half, your defense. First 3 drives for Pittsburgh in the second half. 15 total plays for 35 total yards.
Yes.
So the offense made plays. Special teams made plays.
And that's his side of the ball. That's where he's cut his teeth. That's what he's known for. Jenny, you bring up a great point, because we see this. Teams get down in the NFL. Man, if you're down more than 2 scores in the NFL, man, you got real, real big problems. Saturdays, college, see teams come back all the time, but did not panic. Had confidence in the game plan that we did have, even though it didn't play out in the first half. Like, we're going to stick with it. And you cannot watch the L.A. Chargers play and not watch Derwin James and say, man, that's a special football player.
Yeah.
Like, I have not seen a safety play like him. And I'm going to pause for a minute, because I know last week that we celebrated the death of Sean Taylor. Sean Taylor. I haven't seen a player play like Sean Taylor until I seen Derwin James play. Skill set, can play in the box, can play the middle of the field, great ball skills, great tackler. Like, He should be at the top of the list of rookies of the year. We got some rookies playing some great football, but Derwin James kept them in that football. He dominated the second quarter,
oh my God.
Kept that team in the game.
I want to go back to something you said earlier, which all the Chargers players echoed in the pregame interviews, which was, hey, we know the knock on us is that we can't finish out a season, right? We didn't close out a season. We play really well, very quietly, and then we sort of drift off. And for the first time, they all feel like they're on the same page, and they're doing just that. Let's turn to the other side with the Steelers. How concerned are you now, CC, that they've now lost their second in a row?
Well, the reason why I have a great deal of concern is based on what are the goals of the organization? Because sometimes in television, when you start analyzing things, sometimes you lose perspective of what an organization, what their goal is, what did they set out to do, or an individual. So if someone, I always do this with LeBron, well, what were LeBron's goals, Nick? And forget about how I feel. And based on the Pittsburgh Steelers, man, when they meet every year, they're one of a handful of teams. The first day, the goal is win the division and win the Super Bowl. They're one of a handful that can only do that every year. So, no, this is not a Super Bowl team. And I saw colossal failure on all sides. The coaching was bad. At the end, the game's tied up. You don't allow your team to jump offside 3 times. It's like a professional golfer. I'm going to allow him to hit 3 wedges. Oh, he hit the first one. He hit that one in the water. Oh, go ahead and try it again. You cannot give a field goal kicker extra time to prepare, to be able to kick. I'm going to let him. No, you can't let him kick it again.
Especially a Chargers kicker.
You cannot jump offside no matter who you're playing to give them an extra attempt at it. People say, well, the game's tied. You don't have anything to lose. Yes, you do. Because he could miss it, especially the Chargers kicker. So I didn't like that. You can see on the football field they struggled not running the football. And defensively, with a 2-touchdown lead, 2-point conversions, you can't protect that. Special teams gave up a big touchdown. So for me, at all levels, the Pittsburgh Steelers, man, they're going to regret this game. You can't lose 2 late in November and expect to be a Super Bowl contender.
I'm just very excited for Tuesday around 11:05 a.m. Central Time to hear Big Ben tell me who that critical interception in the red zone, whose fault that one was. Because I thought he got hit. That ball fluttered so badly, and then I saw it again. Oh, no, he didn't get hit. I'm curious whose fault it was that with a 2-score lead after halftime, your first 3 drives, you punt on all 3, and yet run 15 plays for 35 total yards. I'm excited to find those things out because this is a Steelers team, Jenna. You said it off the top, a 16-point lead at home. Just make it a 14-point lead. They said this one during the broadcast. See, you mentioned it this morning. Going into last night, you got a 14-point lead at any point in the game if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers at home. 220, 0-2.
Wow.
They'd done it 222 times. They'd never lost. And now they've lost. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, forget a bye. Like, you've got that big game against New England that I've had circled all year long that could determine the 2 or the 3. No. Now New England can lose that game and still be okay. Pittsburgh, on the other hand, they're only a half game up on the fighting Lamar Jacksons right now. Like Baltimore, who was left for dead, 7-5. Pittsburgh 7-4-1. This is a terrible loss. I understand Pittsburgh's going to be upset. They got one of their touchdowns on a false start. The NFL officials this year have been.
They still had a 2-touchdown lead after that.
Absolutely right.
Okay.
And they could have had a larger lead if, when you're driving, still with the lead in the first half, you don't throw a terrible red zone pick. Like, this is a devastating loss for Pittsburgh. I still think they'll win their division. But winning your division without a bye, all that means is you're going on the road to either Kansas City, New England, or Houston in round 2. Like, it is a terrible loss. And it's the 3rd straight game they played poorly. They played terrible against the Jags, and they got away with it. They played poorly last week against Denver, and they lost. And they played poorly this week at home.
And compounding that, they did lose James Conner with a leg contusion. We'll have to wait and see how bad that is. All right. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.